Hello everyone, Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. It looks as though we may have our first official casting announcement for the upcoming Star Wars spin-off film that's going to be directed by Gareth Edwards. It's supposed to be coming out in 2016. Now, this film is still shrouded in secrecy. We do not know a single thing about it outside of the fact that Gareth Edwards is directing it. It will be released on December 16th, 2016. And most recently, Chris Weitz was brought on to write the script. Gary Whitta had been writing the script for about a year, and he wrote his draft and then kind of amicably left the project. Chris Weitz came in to do a update of that draft. At least that's our understanding of the situation. Now, there's been a lot of rumors floating around. I talked about this on the last episode, that the main theory of the storyline is a heist film surrounding the theft of the plans for the original Death Star, the one where they talked about, or the one that gave them the plans to blow up the first Death Star, essentially. So, if that is the case, and I've talked about it before, and I said that while I do think that that idea is cool, and depending on how it's handled, could be really interesting, especially if it's told from the perspective of several bounty hunters, I think that's Disney looking at seeing, okay, well, Guardians of the Galaxy was a success, and DC has Suicide Squad coming out, which is kind of in the same vein, so let's just do that. So, while I like the idea of the storyline to take, I just think that they're looking at current fads that have come out and are just trying to replicate that, and that to me is not what Star Wars is. Star Wars is original sci-fi, and while still borrowing certain things from other films, for the most part, it's its own sci-fi stories, it's its own sci-fi mythology, and so I would really like them to do something completely original. I do like it tying into I'm torn by this. I like it tying in to the overall Star Wars universe and connecting to certain things that we've heard about in the past. But still, there's something about it to me. And again, this could all change when we get the cast, when we get the official storyline. This is all just rumor that we have right now, except for this. Felicity Jones looks like she is the first official casting confirmation for this movie. Now, this did not come from Disney. This came from, I believe, either The Wrap or The Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter at least did update the story with who they believe is going to be the male cast in this movie, or at least the male lead. So, Felicity Jones signing on, I am definitely on board with that. Felicity Jones is an unbelievably talented actress. Now, out of the shortlist that came out where it was Rooney Mara, Tatiana Maslany, and Felicity Jones, I was more partial to Tatiana Maslany just because she is absolutely incredible on Orphan Black, and you can just see on that show how she can handle doing multiple different characters, and you can just see her acting range and talent. And also, I think she brings a little bit more of that edge that if it's to be believed, and Felicity Jones is the lead in this movie, and it is set around bounty hunters, that Tatiana Maslany would have that little bit more of an edge to play a bounty hunter, potentially even a Mandalorian. So, while Felicity Jones coming on board, I think that's actually a really good casting decision because she's an Oscar-nominated actress. I don't believe that she is going to win. That would be an odd choice, I think, to win just because of, you have also, you have Julianne Moore and you have Rosamund Pike in that same category. So I don't believe that she is going to win, but the fact remains she's an Academy Award nominated actress, and getting her on board a Star Wars film that's incredible. That's a really great casting decision. Still, we don't know anything about the character or about the story, so we don't know exactly what she's going to be playing. But the male leads that they have at least rumored to be a part of this are Aaron Paul and Edgar Ramirez. Now, Aaron Paul's name has been connected to this film for a while now. There was even a report going around that he was being eyed to portray a younger Han Solo. I do not know or believe that that is the case. I don't know. He has a little bit of a Harrison Ford vibe, at least a Han Solo vibe to me. But I don't see him being a great fit because to me he is bigger than the character. I misstated that. Aaron Paul is not bigger than Han Solo. But what I mean is that when you look at him, you will see Aaron Paul. He is not an unknown actor, an unknown talented actor. I mean, Felicity Jones is still relatively unknown. People recognize her talent, but she has not been seen as this one type of character where Aaron Paul has. And that's part of the trap falls of being on a very successful television series. So I don't see Aaron Paul playing Han Solo. I would really like to see him in this universe. I think he could really fit well. Edgar Ramirez as well could really fit well, although it's kind of odd that they're both going up for the same role because, well, as Edgar Ramirez could probably do away with his accent, but the fact remains that he does have a accent. So, I mean, it's all going to depend on what character they're playing, if that is even really a big feature, because if the character itself just has these certain traits and Edgar Ramirez better fulfills those traits, then definitely go with him. Doesn't matter about the accent, he can have an accent. Unless it's the character of Han Solo, you cannot change that character, especially considering the fact that Episode 7 will contain Harrison Ford's version of Han Solo. You cannot have a different ethnicity for that if they're staying within the same universe. That's where you draw that line. But out of the two, I think Edgar Ramirez is a better actor. Just out of the two, he just has a larger filmography to draw from. Aaron Paul, still, he's a great up-and-comer. I actually was one of the people who didn't mind Need for Speed. I thought it was a really great film for what it was, especially using the practical effects. So, between the two, I would probably have to go with Edgar Ramirez if they were both going up for the same role, just because I find him a little bit better of an actor. But yeah, I mean, we don't have any word yet on anything official from this film. We don't even know exactly when we're going to be getting anything official. If I had to peg a time frame, I would say probably the beginning to middle of April. That's not only going to tie in with May the 4th be with you, but it also ties in with Star Wars Celebration, and it ties in when Disney and Lucasfilm announced the cast for Episode 7, because they did that at the beginning of April of last year. So, I mean, I believe that's when we're going to get our official casting announcements from Disney. Remember, this does not come from Disney. This is not 100% confirmed. As far as I know, she is just in talks for the film, which means they've landed on her, and now they're just working through the negotiations. So, yeah, I'm definitely on board with this. I mean, we got to get some more information about this movie before we can really say concrete whether or not it's going to be good or bad. This is uncharted territory for Star Wars. This is going to be a spin-off film. It is not taking place within the confines of a trilogy. It is going to be its own story. Now, I think it was Alan Fine, I believe is his name. He is the CEO of Disney. He came out about a week or a week and a half ago and gave a logline about the Star Wars trilogies. That, you know, we've got Episode 7 coming out, following that up with our first spin-off film, which will deal with characters from this universe now, or from this, I believe he was talking, I'm paraphrasing, but I believe he was talking about Episode 7. So there's still a rumor going around that, well, the spin-off film could actually be about characters that are introduced in Episode 7. So, I mean, you know, there's still so much open to this. We still don't exactly know. But, I mean, we're going to get a lot more information in the next couple of months because they are going to have to start shooting. One of the biggest hurdles for Felicity Jones signing on, this is why a lot of people didn't think she was going to be the one to do it, is because she has signed on to star in Ron Howard's Inferno, the upcoming third installment of the Da Vinci Code series. And that's going to be filming, I believe, in the summer. Either the summer or the fall. So it all depends on when that movie is shooting and if she can fit this into her schedule, which it looks like that hurdle has been overcome. But when we get, like, I would like to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think Felicity Jones is a good choice? Who would you have rather seen being picked? Again, it's kind of odd to make that choice just because we don't know what the character is, but still, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on what you think would be a different casting choice, or if you think that Felicity Jones is the right choice. So the movie is scheduled to come out on December 16, 2016. If we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. Director Roland Emmerich's actually becoming a pretty busy guy right now. He is currently in post-production on his upcoming gay rights movie Stonewall. He's also in pre-production and getting ready to start shooting his upcoming sequel to Independence Day, ID Forever. And he is also currently developing, which is an oddity, this normally doesn't happen. It has happened in the past, I think most recently with Delivery Man. But he is actually going to be undergoing a reboot of one of his own films. So he is going to be rebooting Stargate. And I tweeted about this yesterday and put it on the Facebook page, that I absolutely love Stargate. Stargate is my ultimate sci-fi franchise. I love this show and the movie. I really did enjoy the movie, but to me, where they really strived was in the television series, because they had 10 seasons of SG-1 to build up this mythology, which really did work. I mean, there were there obviously were sections of the show that didn't work, and I'm willing to admit that, especially as a big fan of the show. Atlantis, I found, was a little bit too lighthearted, a little bit too campy, but still, I really liked the mythology that they brought out. And then to me, Universe, while I still thought that that was one of the stronger series, it was just a Battlestar Galactica ripoff. But looking at the mythology that they had created, that's what I was hoping when they said that they were doing another Stargate, that it was going to be a somewhat continuation of that world. Not necessarily the characters, but the world that they had created. Because there's a lot of rich material to mine from in that. I mean, you have everything from, Thor and Loki and all the Asgardians. I mean, I'm not talking about the Marvel Universe. I'm talking about the little gray aliens. And you had, who else? Oh, I am completely drawing a blank. It's actually been a little bit of time since I've watched Stargate. But I mean, you have, Colonel Jack O'Neill, 2 L's. You have, Samantha Carter. You have Teal'c. You have Daniel Jackson, which I actually thought Michael Shanks did a slightly better job than what James Spader did, but only because he had a lot longer to develop it. I really did like Michael Shanks' version of Daniel Jackson getting into like season 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. I really feel that he brought a lot more to that role, but only because he had a lot more time to do it. Roland Emmerich, when he did the original Stargate movie, had envisioned it as a trilogy. Now, he went and did Stargate, and then he wanted to do Independence Day, and then after Independence Day, he was going to revisit and do Stargate 2. He was hoping that Independence Day would raise his credibility to get a much larger budget for the Stargate sequel, because I think Stargate was made for somewhere in the range of between $40 and $60 million, and I think worldwide it made just over 190. So, I mean, it was a modest hit. It wasn't a blockbuster by any stretch of the imagination, but Independence Day coming out and really elevating his credentials would have allowed Roland Emmerich to, I think, get a little bit more money and a little bit more, slack on the rope for a sequel to Stargate, which was his original intent. He always envisioned it as a trilogy. And MGM, who was the company that owned the rights to it at the time, did not want to wait. They wanted to capitalize on this, and because he was not able to come back for a film, they decided to make a TV show. And the TV show really strayed away from what Roland Emmerich's original vision was going to be for this franchise, which I'm a little bit torn because I really did like what they did with the show, but again, I can see the pitfalls that they did. I believe that he never envisioned there to be like the Gould, which they never named in the movie. They only named them in the TV show. They were never originally going to be a parasite. They were actually aliens. And if you watch Stargate at the very end, when the bomb detonates, spoiler alert, when the bomb detonates, very similar to Independence Day, the aliens, their actual form inside that person looked just very similar to the aliens in Independence Day. The one at the end when Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum are in their ship and they're staring right in his face, like that weird big head, the no mouth, the eyes, the head going out like this. Not the thing with the tentacles. Not that. That was the exoskeleton. But this, to me, could be really cool. Now, the writers, they just got new writers for this movie. So, Nicholas Wright and James A. Woods are the people who are going to be penning this reboot. Now, they do not have any published work to their names yet, but they have worked. They worked on a script, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was sold by Centennial Films or Centennial Productions, whichever the name of Roland Emmerich's production company is. But they also did a rewrite of sorts on the upcoming Independence Day sequel, so they have history with Roland Emmerich, and he's moving full steam ahead on this movie, so it looks like he likes what they've done, so he's now gotten them to write the script for the upcoming reboot of Stargate. I am definitely on board with this. I cannot wait. I love this franchise, as I've stated before. There's a lot of potential for this, especially if they are envisioning it as a sequel or as a trilogy. Sorry, this will not be a sequel. This is a reboot of the original 1994 movie, which means that we're not going to be seeing Kurt Russell or James Spader coming back. And I kind of like that because to me, it would seem out of place for them because they wouldn't be relevant anymore, especially if it was to be a sequel. This is now what. It would be over 20 years, probably almost 25 years by the time this movie comes out. Daniel Jackson in the movie is still on that foreign planet, so when they come back, he probably doesn't even speak English anymore. So, there's a lot of problems with that, so I like the fact that they're going with a full reboot, although to me it slightly pains because of the mythology they built up with the show. With all the ships, we got the Daedalus right here, which was one of the cool aspects of the show, really combining alien technology with human technology and building these spaceships, building these Earth defense systems. There's so much cool potential about the show. If you guys have not watched Stargate, I recommend going on Netflix. It is on Netflix right now, at least I believe it's still on Netflix. But it's just such a rich show, a rich sci-fi show. It's a lot of fun. It was made in the mid to late 90s, so I mean, understand the special effects are not, Oscar caliber special effects, but still, it's a lot of fun. It's great storytelling. And, you got Richard Dean Anderson playing Jack O'Neill, who just brings a lot of life and levity to this character. And that was one of the stipulations for him coming onto the show was, and I know I'm not talking about the movie anymore, but still, one of his conditions with coming onto the show was that he wanted to have the character be a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more jokey, because he didn't like how serious Kurt Russell played him in the movie. And so they decided on this little thing that would differentiate it, where his last name would be O'Neill with 2 L's. And every time somebody asked him, like, name O'Neill, 2 L's. And it's those little tiny moments of the camaraderie between the cast. You can really tell that as the series went on, they started to have a lot of fun together. One of my favorite episodes was one, I think it was in season 6. No, it wasn't. It was was it season 4? Anyway, it was like a Groundhog's Day episode where they went through a Stargate and they went to this one planet. This guy was trying to fix the past. He was trying to save his wife. And so O'Neill and Teal'c, Teal'c was why am I forgetting? He was a Jaffa, and the Jaffas were basically like the incubators for the Gould. So they carried them around in a pouch in their stomach, and until they were ready for implantation, they would then take them out and they would put them in a new host, and that would become a new Gould. And so these two characters kept having to repeat the same day over and over and over again. And how they utilized it was really funny. Like, they opened up the Stargate and they were playing golf. So, I mean, it's, they're like, oh, that's got to be some kind of a record, because he hits it like 400 million light years. Like, I mean, it's just great. It's funny. It's great sci-fi. I definitely recommend checking it out. And I am so on board for the Stargate reboot. But let me know what you guys think about this, because I know that I'm a big fan. I know a lot of people who are as well. But I want to hear your guys' opinions about this show, about the original movie, what you think about the reboot, and do you think it's a good idea? Let me know in the comment section below. There is no planned release date yet. He is still going full steam ahead on the Independence Day sequel, which I believe still has a release date in 2016. So if he is able to do that, and instead of doing an Independence Day sequel again after that, he wants to go ahead with the Stargate reboot, expect that most likely the end of 2017 or beginning of 2018. Summer of 2018. Most likely somewhere around there. But when we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. One of the biggest surprises of last year had to be the Keanu Reeves action film John Wick. Now, John Wick, to me, it really came out of left field because I did not expect it to be as fun as it was. The concepts of everything in the movie were really, really cool. I mean, they took kind of the revenge ploy and turned it on its head, because normally when it's a guy going for revenge against a mob boss, he's like, bring it on! I got plenty of guys for you to mow through. We're going to take you out. In this movie, the mob boss calls John Leguizamo's character and goes, why did you, my son told me that you punched him in the face. Why did you do that? You give me a reason right now or I will kill you. And he goes, well, your son stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And the mob boss just goes, oh. I mean, like, that strategy right there, where even like the most powerful people in the mafia and in the crime industry are aware of this guy and are scared of him. They know what he is capable of. That was the tipping point for this movie. That is just such a cool little premise. On top of that, it was directed by second unit directors, which some of the time, that's not really the greatest idea to do, because they inherently only do action and they don't really know how to handle character, or they don't really care. They don't think that that's a mainstay in the movie. Even though there's not a lot of character development in this movie, you get what you need from it. And that was crucial for it. And so it was just a really big surprise. The action in it was just next level. I mean, it was so well choreographed. And they brought out new things like gun fu, which, fighting with guns and using it almost like fists. Like, it was really well done. I was really surprised by it. And it looks as though the directors have now confirmed that John Wick 2 is in fact in development. I was really hoping for this to be just labeled the Continental, because I think that right there in its own right has the potential to be its own film. That hotel, if you guys haven't seen the movie, I'm not really going to spoil it, but it's just, the hotel itself is one of the coolest aspects of the entire movie. You definitely have to check out this film. But the directors, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, have stated that they are working on a sequel. It is in development. And they said They said that they can and will up the action, but Stileski explains, it's the matter of story, and this is his actual quote. It's the matter of story and how you like the character. That's always the most important. If there's great action, but you don't have a character that you have a character that no one likes and doesn't have charisma, you're not going to watch it. So we make sure that we have a story and a character that everybody loves, and then we'll dress it with action that we promise will be awesome. And now I have no doubt on that last claim. Part of the reason that the first John Wick worked was because of the flip of the revenge story and having these guys be completely aware of this guy and knowing that we're in trouble. And that's one of the first times in an action film that they've understood that, at least at the very beginning. Usually they'll get to the point where, the mob boss starts panicking. And that does happen in this movie, but usually that doesn't happen until about 3/4 of the way. They're so cocksure of themselves that, we have this under control. He's just a little mouse in a little maze, and we're going to get rid of him. But not in this movie. They understood full well the capabilities of this guy. And just coming back to another movie, as long as they can bring out a really cool, interesting story, because that to me was one of the biggest draws of John Wick, was that turn. And then the action, obviously. We know we're going to get action that's as good, or if not even better than what we saw in the original. But if they can still bring out a really cool story, I think then a lot more people will be drawn in. Because I have not heard of anybody yet who saw this movie who did not like it. I know a lot of people who just haven't seen it, but who have not seen it, or who have seen it but didn't like it, I don't know too many of those people. Now, there's no word if Keanu Reeves will return, but let's face it, he will. He's talked ad nauseum about how he really enjoyed working on this film. He really enjoyed working with the directors. I think actually they're doing John Rain, I believe is the name of it. It's a 10-episode series, I think on Netflix or Showtime. It's on one of the pay channels. But they're working on a television series together. So after that, I can definitely see them working on a John Wick sequel. The biggest hurdle that they're going to have to overcome is it looks like the directors of John Wick are actually in talks to direct Cowboy Ninja Viking for Chris Pratt. Now, talk about match made in heaven. These guys, their sensibilities, their action sensibilities, their comedic sensibilities, because the movie was really funny. If you watch it, there's a lot of comedic moments in John Wick. And bringing that to Cowboy Ninja Viking, inherently a silly premise to begin with, but has potential for really cool action, starring Chris Pratt, who not only has comedic timing and sensibilities, but he has a lot of charisma and charm, and he has that action hero bravado to him. Like, that to me has the workings of a really, really cool project. And I know that movie is aiming for a late 2015 start date. They're waiting until Chris Pratt finishes filming Magnificent Seven, because he's starting that, I think in April or May is when they start filming that movie, and that's going to go through most of the summer. So then Cowboy Ninja Viking will most likely start production in the fall, and then he has to go right into filming Guardians of the Galaxy 2 sometime next year. So where he could fit, where these guys could fit John Wick 2 is still another story, because they're working on John Rain, and then they've got Cowboy Ninja Viking to film later on in the year, and then develop that movie for a probable 2016 release date, sometime in late August, or sometime in the summer, unless they decide to push it even further. We still don't know. There's no projected release date for Cowboy Ninja Viking as of yet. If it were to come out in 2016, John Wick 2 would most likely be released in late 2017 or 2018, depending on how quickly these guys want to get ahead of the game with this and get moving on this project, unless they wanted to take a little bit of a break, which for a sequel, I don't recommend that they do, but again, that's just my personal opinion. They'll start to lose a little bit of steam. And also, I think you'll lose Keanu Reeves, because if this movie was any indicator, I think we're on a little bit of, now, it's hard to say after one film, but I think we might be in for a little bit of a resurgence for Keanu Reeves. If he picks more roles like this, because this was essentially a perfect role for him, it fit every single one of his sensibilities as an actor. So I'm definitely on board with John Wick 2. I loved the original one. It was so much fun. Definitely recommend I think it just came out on Blu-ray, or is about to come out on Blu-ray. So definitely check it out if you guys haven't yet. It's a lot of fun. You won't regret it. But John Wick 2 is in development, so we got that to be happy about. I mean, that's just awesome. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think that John Wick was a great film? Do you think it deserves a sequel? And what would you like to see them do with the sequel? Like, what sort of story possibilities are there for this movie? Because outside of the Continental, I don't really see where they could go outside of him just kind of doing the same thing, getting back into the game and becoming like a hitman for hire. Maybe he has to go after some sort of political target. You know, there's a lot of really cool options to do. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. And if we get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click that subscribe button in the bottom corner and get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. And also give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Movie News with Niklsun. If you guys ever have a topic or a question you'd like to have talked about on this show, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section, or you can email us at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. And on every Friday episode, we'll try to get to as many as we can. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.